want to start from the ground up. We're starting with our coaches. We're hopefully going to, build that consistency about our program, the things that we want to have our kids doing from the younger ages all the way up. We have coaches from 10U all the way up to, I don't know how old we got in here. Head coach of 14, 15, 14, 15s. So up to 14s, guys. We have a couple guys in here tonight to help us out. Kevin Bross, head coach for Anoka baseball. Don Gauerlich, head baseball coach for Andover High School. Going to be talking about practice planning. We got three helpers over here. Rowan, we got Ben, and we got Jake. They're going to be helping us out and showing some of the drills tonight. So we got kind of an open forum. We got a lot of stuff to get through. Throw out some questions, answers. I'll let Don and Kevin take over here. So, all right. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. This is a start of a series that Mark and I have been kind of working on, bringing in a lot of people. We're kicking it off tonight, but next month, Dave Heeb pitching. In December, the head of our Coaches Association, Todd Sprinker, the head coach at Cambridge Isanti, is going to come in and talk about infield work. In January, still working on the time and the date, but Brian Robbie, head coach at Bethel, on how to get a run when you need one. Playing small ball and that kind of thing. And then in February, Kevin's going to talk hitting and how they do it here in Anoka. And then the annual clinic that you have in March. April. First week in April. And is there anything else I'm missing that is going to be part of this whole series?
I think you covered it. We're still working on March, what we're going to do for March. But.
Yeah, okay. So, we coach obviously your high schoolers, and I'm from your rival school, but I got some kids in the program. Jake over here screwing around is one of my kids. He's an 11-year-old, and then I got a 6-year-old that plays t-ball, and then I had a 13-year-old that played ball, and he's done playing baseball. But so this is where we live. This is our community, and this is why I like to help out. So in case you're wondering what's the Andover clown doing here, that's me. Yep.
Yeah, my story, I guess, is I went to Anoka High School actually as a sophomore. My dad was the head baseball coach at Anoka for, I want to say like 18 years or something like that. I played for him for a year, got moved over to Champlain Park High School where I graduated from, and now I'm teaching at Anoka High School and coaching, and have my dad back as an assistant, and it's been fabulous. Just love the program, love the tradition. I spent some time at Coon Rapids working or coaching with their high school, and Wayzata, Richfield, the Champlain Park Legion program, and so I'm here at Anoka and just want to make sure I can help you out in any way I can.
Yeah, I coached at Cathedral with Bob Karn, who's won like 1,000 games. I started out with him for a year, and then I went to Coon Rapids with Jerry Coe and Champlain Park, and I actually coached 2 years as an assistant with Tim Overgard at Anoka. So I've kind of been around too. We wanted to talk about practice planning, and the biggest thing is organization. Knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then being able to execute your plan. Having a plan and limiting the standing around. All those types of things are what we want to talk about. We could talk hitting philosophy, we could talk pitching philosophy, we could talk to that until midnight, but we just want to talk mainly how your practices can look. Not necessarily should, because everyone has their own style, but organization, having a structure that kids can count on, that is not too, out of what Kevin is looking for with the guys building up to his programs.
Right. And we've had this conversation, I think even prior to tonight starting, is my biggest thing is have a plan, have a goal for the day. And we do that at our level. We write it down. I meet with the other coaches before our practice starts. This is what we're going to achieve today. Okay? We're going to work on our rundowns. We're going to work on hitting to opposite field. We're going to work on our pickoff plays. This is my priority for the day. If we get through that and there's additional time, great. We'll extend it. And I have all that planned out ahead of time. But at any point in time, somebody should be able to walk up to your practice and say, "What was the goal today?" And somebody should have an answer. It shouldn't be just, "Well, we wanted to work on hitting." Okay, well, what part of hitting did you want to work on? And so I would get that specific. I would say, you know what, we're going to work on opposite field today. All right, well, we'll do some other stuff, but that was our main goal. So that would be my biggest suggestion for practice planning, is make sure you know what the goal is. And I guess it comes from the, you know, the fact of just being a teacher. You know, I have to have my lesson plan for the day. This is what I need to achieve it for the day, and I have to have a way of measuring whether I achieved it for the day.
And when I'm coaching guys at this age and older, my players, are we better now after practice than when we started? And I ask my guys that all the time. Are you better now than when we started practice? Well, hopefully, because if we are not, we didn't work on the right things. Or you weren't tuned in, or something. And that gets that whole accountability piece going, and people thinking and reflecting on how they're working and the type of work that they're putting in. There's going to be a little overlap from the previous group, but because some of the things are the same. But when you're practicing and you have your group out there, like I said, being organized, having your equipment set up, having assistants who know their roles. Hey, you guys are at the ages, we're at the ages where we have people that have specific positions on the staff. I have a pitching guy, and he's the one who talks about pitching. I'll interject because I'm the head coach, but my other coaches, their noses are out of it. We got an outfield guy. His job during the game is to keep an eye on where outfielders are playing, read the spray charts, and being able to, when hitters come up, oh, this is an oppo guy, oh, here comes that lefty who pulls the ball to the gap, and he moves outfielders. An infield guy who's paying attention to bunting situations, also first and thirds, double play situations, pinching in the middle infield, telling the corners to stay back or play out. That's what the infield guy does. And then, of course, you got a head coach that oversees it all. If you're lucky to have 3 assistants, give them jobs. Have them work in those capacities in practice and during the game. It doesn't mean that that's all they'll do, and you're certainly going to talk about it after practices and debrief, I hope, for 5-10 minutes after practice. That's when you're picking up all the gear, how they go, see anybody play outfield, or anybody help us behind the plate, that kind of thing. That helps formulate the next day's practice. But the idea of knowing what you're doing, having all your equipment, having specific roles for people, it's huge. Because, and as head coach, if you're one of those head coaches, you dabble in everything, but maybe you pick an area too. Your area might be the hitting. You coordinate all that hitting stuff, and because when the players are hearing one voice on that's important. Because if someone, say you get all people with just nebulous roles, no one knows what's going on, and they're kind of overlapping, that's when you start hearing different things. And it's not bad to have somebody else cross and do that. It's not awful, but you want a kid to build trust with a person on your coaching staff, I guess you could call it. You want them to be able to go to that person and get that help they need. And you want that coach to, during the season, to try to do some research and thinking about, hey, how can I help this kid? At first base, kid can't scoop, or scoops half the balls. We want them scooping 80 to 90% of the balls. They could be the person who's working with the corner infielders, or somebody working with double plays. Just establish roles.
How many assistant coaches or parents do you typically have on a team?
We have 3.
3 plus you, or 3 total?
You usually get, it's 2, right? You get the
We
head
added
coach,
another
2
one.
assistants.
We added another one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So you do have 3 now?
You could have.
So 3 total coaches.
Plus a head coach.
Plus a head coach?
Plus a head.
So you have 4 adults working with you?
For 12 kids.
More than enough. I mean, that's I didn't realize you had that many people.
You really need 3, but 4 is fantastic. Because 4 frees up the head coach to walk around and do things.
And I think, yeah, we were just saying, there's nothing with that many people, with 4 coaches, there's nothing that I can do that you can't do, with our drill. Sometimes I worry that, varsity practice where I have, 3 other assistants on the practice field with me makes the practice planning a little bit different at the younger levels. I've coached a team by myself, and I realize how hard it is. But if you guys have that many people, then yeah.
When you have roles defined, your practices will go quicker because kids know where to go. And you have all that time that was explaining the drills is gone. Because you have that guy running the outfield stuff, and his job is to make sure he has something fresh and new to talk about, or review what happened in the previous game. Infield guys are talking about whatever they're going to talk about, and that's what you discuss before practice. We're going to talk about the idea of some consistency, some things that have to happen at every practice. Your kids have to warm up. They got to be properly warmed before they touch a baseball. If they're showing up early, they don't touch a baseball yet. Maybe there's some pepper or something you can do, or even some ground balls are fine, but nobody's swinging a ball without warming up as a team. Okay? When they show up, I have a rule in my program, if it's not 75, they better have sleeves on. So I tell them, put some sleeves in their bag. Make sure that they're prepared for cold weather, and if it's a 6 o'clock practice and it's 75, by the end of the night it's going to be 65. So their job is to keep their bodies warm, because if you're throwing with tight muscles and you've been standing around for 15 minutes and all of a sudden we're throwing from the hole at short the first or whatever it is, that's where the injury takes place. You got to have kids. That's why for me, in this whole, I'm going off this big plan here. For me, I like to do defensive work first, because the kids are already warmed up from throwing. And I go right into defensive fundamentals. There's two reasons. A, they're warm. B, they all want to hit. And if they want to hit, you're holding a carrot over their head, and they'll hit at the end if they're working hard and everything goes well. But hey, games are won with pitching and defense. So work on those right away. You want to talk some throwing and warming up?
Yeah, we can do that. What I'm going to go off of, and I realized I have it here, is this packet. Hopefully you guys all have it. If you go probably halfway in, it's marked throwing at the top. And I believe there are nine drills or 9 progressions. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, and maybe we can show a couple of them like we did in the last session, where we start. Let's get them doing the elbow isolation again. Is this something that's already being done? Like, is everybody doing the progression? Does everybody have this? Is this new to anybody? I just want to know where I'm at, because I don't want to spend 15 minutes on the throwing progression if it's just like, yep, we've seen it, we're doing it, move on. I mean, is that where we're at, or is this new?
We started it a couple of years ago when we had the clinic at the high school.
Okay.
That was kind of the initial first shot of it, where we passed it out to everybody and said, this is what we need to be doing. Now,
how about implementation?
I think everybody
Who does it?
Who does it now is like, okay.
I think everybody does.
Okay, and that's what we're getting at. I would love it to be something where it's automatic. When we get them at the high school, it's like, yep, we've done this drill 50 times. We know exactly how it works. We know why we're doing it.
I know who does it, because I know which guys, after they're done with their warm-up run, they go right to the left field line and they're already kneeling down and they're flipping. I know which guys are in the routine right after that. There's a reason why we're starting this way. We want the elbow. We want the elbow, wrist, and shoulder working together here, folks. And we want, you start getting guys who throw in their elbows out here, or their shoulder, they start slaying it from the side. We want things working together. And this just isolates the wrist. We want good wrist flips, and they're only going to do this maybe 6 or 7 times, and then we're going to move them on to something else. But the idea that the difference between that kid who throws 75 and 78 might be right here. Just simple control of the ball, and just the physics behind releasing the baseball. It just might be right here, enough to give a kid an extra couple miles an hour, or late movement on a ball, which we all love. That ball that can kind of wrap inside or go back door. It might be right here, because all they have to do is just change their pressure point on their finger, and just a little bit of a variation. And that's a finer point, but if they have to be able to do this first. So we talk doing this, and then there's a bunch of different places you can go from right here.
Yeah, and what I wrote on that packet are I probably could have put 10 more on here. I think there's 9. It's a progression of 9 steps that I wrote on here. Elbow isolation, kneeling, the power T. So what we talked about, we start there. You mentioned in the other group too about using line baseballs. Early in the season, we always start with a line baseball. Helps kids figure out where to put their finger, thumb on the bottom of it. When they're playing catch and doing that isolation, I can see where the rotation of the ball is. It should be a nice straight line. Backspin on it. You can go ahead and do the power T.
If any of your kids someday play at the University of Minnesota and they play under Todd Oaks is the pitching coach there. The pitchers that come in, he diagnoses within that first day which freshmen don't know how to throw a ball with good 6-12 rotation. And those guys who can't throw with good 6-12 rotation have to do all their work with striped baseballs until they can throw with good 6-12 rotation. And then they can't throw any other pitch until they get this down. And they're redshirting and doing all that until they figure out how to do this. And so if you have a kid that you think has a nice lively arm, but can't make the ball go the way they want it, the University of Minnesota will break them down to the point where they want them to be able to do this. And then from here, this is the common point where they'll work on their natural movement, their break, their sliders, their change-ups, all that kind of thing.
So pitching is the name of the game. We all know that. That's why we spend so much time on throwing. the mechanics, Dave Heeb, when he comes to speak, I don't know when that is.
Next month.
You know, I've seen his presentation probably like 5 times. This is what he does. I mean, he's going to go through the exact same, you know, series of drills. And you know, his philosophy is very similar to ours in the fact that, hey, if I can teach you to throw, if I can get you to throw, I can turn you into a pitcher if I need you. Okay, so if we're doing this all through the program, arms are getting stronger, mechanics are, you know, set up. Now I can put you on the mound and I'll teach you the finer, you know, points of pitching as long as you got a good basis. So the first thing, after the elbow isolation, we'll do this. I'm going to have you stop. What I do is we're going to get them into the stack power tee and emphasize this down, out, and back. Okay, so they're going to start here, down, out, and back, and I'm going to have them pause. Go ahead and pause in your tee. Call it a stack power tee, ball facing behind them. Look for their thumb on the bottom of that striped baseball. Ball is stacked over their elbow. And with the last group, I was kind of doing the same thing. I always look at that elbow, and a lot of times I'll kind of put my finger right where their elbow is and say, is that where you want the ball to go? Okay? Because your elbow, this line right here, is telling you where you're going to end up throwing that ball. And so if they want it right here, all right, now we're right in line. Great, you made that adjustment. As far as whether their elbow is bent, okay, that's where he's throwing, or out, I really don't care. I feel it's a non-teach as long as everything's in a row. We got the back elbow at or slightly above the back shoulder. We're in line. Okay.
If you watch a lot of baseball, or you hear the commentators talking about a pitcher who's flying open, that's kind of that elbow point he's talking about here. If you're flying open, it means you're losing, your front side is coming open like here. And what happens when you're in this position, like you said, you're going to throw, you're in position to throw that way, but you've exposed, you know, by pulling like this, you've just totally exposed elbow, shoulder, wrist, and this is all you have left, and your momentum's carrying you this way. If you're stacked and in line, then you're throwing over the top of your toe, finishing out front, and all your momentum is going from point A to point B. When I make pitching trips and I watch kids who are struggling, I go out there, I don't even look at the kid. I look at their footwork, and I see where they're landing. And right there, it tells me, coaching points right there, I can just say, hey, can you just do me a favor? I'm just trying to get the umpire just to kind of reset here, because he seems to be stuck in a rut. But I need you to look at your feet right now. You're going here to there, or here to there. I need you to think about, you know, point A to point B. We've talked about this, and then I might tell them a funny joke, and then I'm out of there. But just a quick coaching point, try to relax them, and then move on. And a lot of times, you might be surprised at the results. Some guys will go out and give too much information, and the kids just, I wish they wouldn't have talked to me, you know, and then catcher has to come out later, and, you know, whatever. But anyway, these progressions, quick. 5 to 8, move on to the next one, and go ahead.
Is there any on there that you're like, I'm not sure what you mean by that? Maybe I could just skip to those. There's 9 of them.
I can talk real briefly about a couple of them. A couple of my favorites, I like to have kids' feet just planted in the ground. I like to rotate and throw.
Nope.
That's one of them we do at Andover. And then I like, instead of from the power T position, I like to have them kind of in a gorilla stance and figure 8, get into the power position, and then throw over their toe. That's another one I like to do. And then butt-ups is another one. When they're down on the floor, knees are on the floor, and then from down here they're throwing, but their momentum carries them up off the ground. Those are 3 that I really like.
Yeah, I think you say butt-ups, we call it power T to stand up is what I have written here. The no step drill, same one. You know, we'll do it like this. Toes facing the partner. We're going to get into that same power T from here, just isolating the top half. And I'll have them pause. And then throw. You know, down, up, and back. And then throw, and then we'll get more rhythmic. But, you know, I'm always walking around, and all of a sudden you'll hear, you know, you'll see some balls going all over the place, and I'll say, all right, I want you to get in your power T, and I want you to stop. And a lot of times, we'll see that elbow opening early. Obviously, and Dave, he will speak to this as well, when he talks about, you get in line here, that's great, but eventually you're going to have to open up. Okay? Eventually you're going to have to open up. And his argument is, or what I think his verbiage might be, is something that, like, you stay closed as long as you possibly can. Okay? You keep that front shoulder closed, or in line, as long as you possibly can, until the ball comes through. If it opens up early, that's when we're gonna be off.
There's another real technical coaching point to that, is as you're closed here, somebody did some research on what fastballs appear to look like, and Randy Johnson was the guy to use because he's like 6'10". They said for every 12 inches of release closer to the plate, the ball looks like it's coming in 3 miles an hour faster. So the idea is get up here, stay in line, stay closed as long as you can, and open but finish out here as far as you can towards the plate, because you obviously have a shorter distance. You're throwing the ball at the same speed, but shorter distance, the ball is going to appear to the hitter to be coming in a little faster.
Any others on that list? Are we good to move on? I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen them or heard them.
Well, but the idea is build up to long toss.
Yeah,
Build up to long toss.
Long toss every single day. Long toss to failure, meaning we want to get them to a distance where they cannot get the ball there, and that's how we're going to get the arms stronger. We do it with our catchers as well. A lot of times when my catcher is, balls all over the place, we'll actually have them throw beyond second base. And then we'll bring them back up to second base. And all of a sudden, now that throw seems like nothing. Same general concept. We want to get them as far away as they possibly can, so they have to bounce it once or twice. And then at the very end, we're going to move them back up to regular distance again from 50, 60 feet to finish strong. You want to talk about long toss?
Well, we're talking a lot about throwing, but it's so critical, so key to the game. The teams that can play catch the best win. And so, we spent 20 minutes here talking just simply, we're not even at the main juice of practice here yet, and we've just talked about the throwing piece. But if for your first night or two of practice, if all you get to is a good laying the base of your throwing program, that's fantastic, because that lays the base for your rest of your season that you can build off of. And your infielders, your outfielders all understand what it takes for how to throw the baseball from point A to point B, and you just have to get it back in their head that, hey, we're doing it here, but it relates to what you're doing out there, and there has to be a connection there. And so,
arc and no arc.
Arc and no arc. For us, we do both. We were talking long toss. We will kind of hop and then throw it as far as we can in the air, and then I don't know, Brewers had this thing where they didn't like that, and then they started their own little deal, and then they named a drill, call it the Brewers throwing program or something. It's all based on throw it as far as you can, but skip it, like you're throwing a rock on a lake. Just skip it, here and, and it might take 6 to 8 hops, but throw it on a line. That was just the idea that they didn't want the guys in this position. So
I say as far as building arm strength, air it out. Do them both. Have them. I don't care if if they want to launch that thing into the air, as long as they're throwing at a maximum distance, and we want them doing the arc and throwing the ball on the line mixed up.
Yeah, the one thing that I always see, and maybe this is more the younger age, when they start going to that arc, they start getting into bad positions and bad habits because they're just kind of throwing off to the side or not coming over the top. So when like last year, I would just kept more of the line because then they were coming over the top.
It's a good coaching point, because a lot of times when the kids are playing catch, coaches will be off talking. You can't do that. You got to be out there with them. You got to be walking up and down the line, and you got to be correcting grips. You got to be talking about leading, watching that front elbow. You got to be, you got to be there. The talking with the coaches has to happen before practice or after practice, because when the kids are on the field, this is all part of the organizational piece and taking practice seriously. You got to be there with them. You got to, you can still have fun and hey, how's it going, blah blah blah. But then don't forget the fundamentals of what you're doing and why you're doing it. So that's the throwing part. They're all warmed up. They're lathered up, ready to go. I like to go into infield and outfield fundamentals. I like to break groups break players into groups. Still at the ages where players are playing multiple positions. I'd assume by, you guys are at the 14s, you still have guys that are playing 2 and 3 and 4 positions, right? Probably, possibly. I highly doubt you just have a pitcher. And they're playing at least 2 positions. And so, when, maybe you want to incorporate the third station as a bullpen station. That's where your pitchers and your catchers are working together. But infield groups, I like to have infielders working with infielders, outfielders who like to, as their primary position, working outfielders, pitchers and catchers on the side. But I do like to rotate them based on the need of the player and how your team looks. The younger guys, you'll probably have everybody playing everywhere. Older guys, it gets a little bit more position specific. There's a lot of drills you can do infield-wise, a lot of drills you can do outfield-wise. I got a lot of handouts there.
Yeah, you know, one that I'm going to point out, and we ran the coaches through it, I think it was last year when we were at goal kick or whatever it is. It should be in the packet. Looks like this. We just call it our double fungo drill, but basically what you have is you have a guy, a coach standing near home plate, that's Coach A. He's going to hit all these, okay? Coach B is going to hit all these. When Coach A is on number one, Coach B is on number one. So, you know, so Coach A's hitting a ground ball to the first baseman, throws it back to the homer, the person catching for the coach. Then hits the ball to the second baseman. That guy throws it back. So we got balls all over the infield. It looks chaotic. Oh, sorry about that, guys. It looks chaotic, but we can literally get so many ground balls in a matter of 15, 20 minutes that the players are exhausted. I mean, they are literally tired of fielding ground balls. And the cool thing is, on some of these, you don't have to have them make the throws all the time. If it's later in the season, where arms are getting sore, and you know, these guys, we get a lot of games in a row, we'll throw buckets out there. So it's ground ball, bucket, ground ball, bucket. And you know, you'll have two coaches hitting at the same time. If you ever want to see this, you know, I invite you to our practices. We'll run you through this. It's one of those that probably takes a while to set up. You'd actually probably need to see it. If you can kind of visualize what this would look like on paper, it might help. So anyway, a lot of different drills.
I want to show some infield drills right off the bat. Ben and Rowan, if you back up a little bit. Jake, you're going to be my first guy. What I like to do with my infielders is just go through a couple minutes of just a few warm-ups before I start hitting balls at them or to them. I might start out with just some basic ground balls, and you guys are just going to go around in a circle here, right? So when I roll back, he's in his ready position. He breaks down, fields it, gets his feet in a good position, goes to the end of the line. Next guy up, boom, right there. Gives me a nice little flip back. Ready position, break down, right there. Next guy up, and we're going to keep going. Right here, like this. This is early on in the season. Forming good habits. Working with two hands. And we want to see that ball come up to the gut and their feet go towards their target. Okay? So you guys can watch for this too. Glove out, present the glove, break down, come up and get it. Next guy. Alright. So
I'd probably do something like this too, but I may have this guy over there. You're going to be the thrower. Okay? And you might, you know, throw 5, 6, 7 of them in a row with this guy, and then we're going to flip, and we're going to change sides. So there's no reason you can't get, you know, all these guys involved at the same time.
All right, now this is a single guy drill. I'm a coach. We're going to go 30 seconds. You're going to go side to side, and you love this one. All right, you ready? Flip it back and move. Ready? Over here, over here. So this is a 30-second drill. He's going to go side to side, flip it and move, and I roll him over here. Flip it and move, and he's just going side to side. This is a thigh burner right here. And as you teach your players how to do this, you can have them partner up. And this can be part of your infield warm-up routine before they see a ground ball hit at them. All right? You guys, you're going to throw each other short hops. Ben, you're over here. Rowan, you're right there. I'll be you for the first one. So, you're going to be right here, glove presented, short hops coming. You're going to field it to your gut, and then you're going to chuck him like a dart, a short hop back, and you guys are going to do this for 30 seconds. Now they're throwing it easy to each other, right in front, those little candy hops. But as a coach, I don't like those because those are unrealistic. Come on, give them a tough, here, watch this one. Ready? All right. There you go, I'll take one. Go ahead, keep going.
You know, one of the things too with those short hops like that is, you know, you can't expect the players at this age to know how to field those. What I'm going to teach the guys is go get it. Take that short hop, reach out and field that ball. So it's boom, boom, right into the mitt. So if you know you're going to get short hop, then I need that glove out there a little bit further. I want you to go get it, as opposed to doing this to take that higher hop, if that makes any sense. So
Okay, hold on.
I'm going to have you go get that and take that short hop.
And that's where you get a chance, you know, whoever works with your infield, they have a chance to talk about those things. Rowan, get in the backhand position. I'm going to get on a knee as a coach. He's going to be in a backhand position. What I want him to do is sweep through the baseball, or If he wants to give, depending on the hop, he's going to read that and read the spin on the way. So I either want him to sweep or give. And just flip it back to me. And get back in that position. And I'll do about 5 to 6 of these and get the next guy in. And now go forehand. I want him fielding it out in front of his toe. And I want you to stay in your forehand position without moving your back foot. Okay? Sometimes you have to reach for a baseball and you can't get 2 hands on it. And my job right now is to extend him so that he knows what he can get. And right there is about his limit. Okay? So those are some just, you can pick 1 or 2 of those. And then get into your hammering ground balls at them. And, you know, they get their infield fundamental work going.
Good.
Even in the gym, I mean, obviously you guys probably just without gloves, right? I mean, just working on hands. I mean, working on your hands. Early on when you're inside like that, and just leave the glove aside.
Yep.
You're not going to do this very often in the season.
Yep.
You may revisit, say you have a 6-day break or something like that, and you want to revisit the fundamentals because your infield fundamentals all of a sudden took a nosedive. You go back to what you did at the beginning of the year. And it never hurts to do it as a reminder every so often. Your team, you know, all of a sudden is they're starting to peak. They look up as the ball. They should be looking down here and fielding the baseball and making their throw. Maybe they start peaking, and that's where you get back to, hey guys, I'm noticing something. We got to make sure we're paying attention. Eyes on the baseball. Bring it up to your gut, and I need to be able to see the top of your hat. You know, those types of things. Outfield work. You know, so the infield's doing something, outfield might be doing something else. Come on out here, guys. So there's a lot of different options. You know, I might start with just a team mass drill of, hey, let's do some crow hops. When you catch the baseball, I want you to work on crow hops. So let's get in the line. That's home plate. Come on over here. Come on over here. Let's get in the line. That's home plate. We want to catch the baseball at or above our nose. So, looking that way. Baseball in the air. Let's make the catch with 2 hands. And then we'll work on a team crow hop. We might do this 3 or 4 times. Just as a group. Ready? All right, balls in the air. Here we go. You know, and a lot of kids don't know what a crow hop is. You know, and you got to teach them. 1 more. Balls in the air. Okay. And then, we want, as a team, you guys stay right here. Now face me. Your outfield ready position is different for an outfielder versus an infielder. Infielders down and wide. Outfielders are tall, right about here. So if I point to that direction and there's a ball going over there, show me your drop step. And that's all I want you to do is a 1-step drop. Get back in your ready position. That way. Okay, what about the ball over your head? Yep, throwing hand side. Throwing hand side. Okay? So, good. Okay? Those are things you review every so often. Got to do them. And then a couple outfield drills that my guys like to do. I'll get them in a line. I'll have them run a sprint. I'll chuck one low. I'll chuck one medium, kind of at their chest. And then I'll do the long bomb layout and have them chase it. And then they'll pick up all 3 balls and then they'll bring them back. Next guy up. Another one that's fun is, let's say, Ben, you're my guy up front. The outfielders sometimes have the balls go behind them. So, Ben, don't go after this ball until I tell you. Freeze, okay? Go get it. It's the worst feeling in the world as an outfielder to have to go chase a baseball. Now, how did you pick up the ball, Ben? If the ball is moving, what are we going to use? Glove in hand. If it's dead, what do we do?
Hand.
Hand. Okay? So that's a coaching point right there to keep your eye on the players and what they do. There's all sorts of stuff. I mean, you know, left-handed hitters. You know, there's coaching points you can work with your outfield. The left-handed hitters typically pull off the ball will shoot that way. How do you play that? You know, there's so many things. One of my favorites, though, is having 2 lines. One line is the center field, one line is the left field, and the center field always has outfield priority. So you have that guy, you know, anything he can get to, the left fielder has to either back up or get out of the way. And you got to work on 2-line communication, because at my program, and I don't know about yours, my program, my outfielders, when they come in, they're atrocious at communication. My infielders are too, actually.
What we do for communication, I think, has really helped us a lot recently in the last few years, is we have different calls for our outfield versus our infield. So our infielders are going to yell, mine, 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 mine. Our outfielders are going to yell, ball, 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 ball. If If you're an infielder and you're saying, mine, and you hear ball, 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 you get out of the way. That you know that that's an outfielder coming in, and they have priority over that baseball. So anything where an outfielder can get coming in has got priority over an infielder going out.
And if that's all you guys have, if that's what you do, we are not even at that point yet. We're just hoping somebody gets to the baseball. We know center fielder has to get there shorter second. And I'll just take, I got it. I'll take any of that stuff.
They collide and bloody noses, we gotta figure something out.
So we really work on that. And that's where the team defense then comes in. Like I say, that third group could be pitchers, catchers, bullpen work. We could get into that another time. But you start talking team defense. This is where you're working on cutoffs. This is where you're working on, maybe you play a game of 15 outs. You have some extra guys off to the side, being their base runners and creating situations that you'll see in games. But team defense, these guys have to work on it as often as they possibly can. It's where as a coach you get a chance to hit those little duck farts that are between second and right that somebody has to get to without breaking an arm. Double play balls. And you talk about, guys, this is your situation where you're just begging for a ground ball. 6-4-3, please. And you're ready for it. And you start getting the infielders talking to each other. Hey, infielders, we're twisting, and third baseman, I'm playing even with a bag, and you start encouraging those guys to talk based on the situation at hand, and positioning themselves so that they're thinking about things. So that's the team defensive part that you should, I think, do next. Then we start getting into hitting.
Okay. Any questions so far, or clarification, or I'm just trying to watch the clock and make sure that you guys have...
The straight over the top fly ball, you drop...
Drop step, throwing hand side. So it's different for a lefty versus a righty. Drop step, throwing hand side, turn your back if you have to, and then find a spot and try to catch it on your way in if you can, at or above the nose, throwing hand side. So
just trying to get in it, and that's a hard skill to learn for the younger kids. Of even at the high school level, we got to come back to it and reteach it. Is get to where you think the ball is going to end up. It just drives me nuts when I'll have an outfielder floating with a ball like this. Where they're dogging it. They're running a quarter speed, and we know that if you would have ran full speed, got to that spot, turned around, you could have caught that ball coming in, throwing hand side, made a good throw. So,
especially with runners on base, because that makes a difference in the freebie battles of getting extra bases. And in a tight game, a guy moving up, that can make the difference of it.
Anything else? Clarification or questions on anything that we've talked about so far?
So you've warmed them up. They've been throwing. They've had some water. You've broken them down into infield, outfield, and getting maybe a bullpen or two here and there. Talk team defense. That could be your practice, depending on how much time goes. It could easily be an hour and a half. You hope it's less than that, but then hitting-wise, that's what they came for, and that's what you want to work on. And that's where you start getting, your tee work, your soft toss work in, your live plate work, bunting, moving runners over, all that stuff put together.
Do you want to go through some of the soft toss drills? I just think the point that you brought up as far as where you line up and doing it right. Sounds like everybody's doing soft toss. Thank you. Everybody's doing soft toss, but I think what might help is to make sure that we're all doing it correctly.
So what I do when I'm tossing is I don't hit right, I don't toss from right here. I don't make it a 90-degree toss. I played ball, a lot of you guys played ball. That's a tough ball to hit. I mean, we like to put at least an angle on this thing. And what I'll do is I'll start with just a regular toss work, and I try to aim for the front knee. So I like to work on those pitches that are just right out front that every guy likes. I try to go for the front knee. Now I present the ball.
Yep.
I bring it back so they can load. That's a critical step right there.
It is.
Give the guys a chance to load. Okay?
Yeah. Show them what it would look like without going back. So I'm ready to hit.
If I just do this, he hasn't had a chance to load and he's just guessing.
And I even see my guys doing that every once in a while. They'll forget. But I'll just show it back. That gives the batter a chance to load before they're gonna swing.
So the first
that simulates the pocket you talked about.
Yeah, they have to have a chance because I talk pocket to pocket, and trigger, stride, swing, trigger and load are the exact same thing. Load, stride, swing, and you load when your pocket shows the pitcher his pocket, when he's showing you yours, pocket to pocket, his pitch, when he's here as a pitcher ready to explode, as a hitter, you're here ready to come out and meet him. So it's a pocket to pocket load piece. Yep, so here's the soft toss sequence. And your guys should hopefully get to know it. At least, maybe you do it differently. But I do a front knee, and then I do a back knee. And then I do one of these. And if you see that, that's like a change-up type of pitch. I want that ball being hit right back up the middle. So I want the oppo, I want the pull, and I want back up the middle on a change-up. And so that's a part of it.
Yeah, a lot of the kids, though, you start getting into this rhythm with soft toss where, he's just like this, like this, just perfect. And the batter, he's just, ripping the balls, which is great. But I like, every once in a while you disrupt the timing. And when you get a guy that his hands are starting to come forward like this, all of a sudden all right, that's an off-speed guy. You ever see a batter like that? I'm going to throw that guy, change-ups in the dirt, curveballs, anybody who's going to lunge at it. So we really want to make sure that we keep our hands back, we're planted. Okay, now that low one comes in, now I can plant the heel and turn on it.
So the progression, inside, then back knee, and then the lollipop for the curve, simulating that off-speed pitch. After you're done with that, then there's a whole series of drills that we're gonna keep working with. We can, if you're brave enough, you can get up here, get it about their bill of their hat height, and drop it on the front edge of the plate or any part of the plate, and they have to hit the ball before it hits the ground. All these are about 8 to 10 swings per, and then switch them. And if you teach the kids how to do these drills, as a coach, you're just watching. And you're trying to tutor and work with guys on their individual games, while the kids, hopefully, are learning how to flip instead of chuck them at each other and doing that whole thing. The idea is keep them moving so that they aren't being too tempted by the dark side, which is goofing around. Okay, so you got drops. We have what are called juggles. And you just, whichever one comes out, you hit it. And what it's teaching is patience. Now, no, I'm not giving a load. I'm not doing that on juggles. But sometimes you get a kid who just throws hard, and you just have to react.
What you can do as well is some drills like that, which we will do these sequence drills where we'll get the kids in their stance, they load, they stride, we're going to start from right here. So they've already taken their step, they're 50-50 on their weight, front to back. Now you could do that drill, fire it at them, and all I'm going to do is plant my heel and rotate. So you wouldn't even have to start them from their stance or something like that.
2-ball top, bottom. So I just hold them both here and I'll say top. And he gets the top one. Okay, nice job. And then I'll just vary it up and say bottom. So you got inside, outside, the lollipop, the drop, you got juggles, you got top and bottom. You could go one hand, top hand drive, or a bottom hand finish, and then a top hand drive, kind of a punch. You could do it that way, but don't have them use their bat. If they use their bat, they get tired. If they get tired, their fundamentals start to fall. I like to use sticks. I get the Menards wooden dowels over there. I get different sizes. I get the really narrow ones to the thicker ones. I don't know what you guys probably do something.
You know what we do is, I'll limit the number of swings. So when we're doing a drill like this, 6. You're going to take 6, then we're going to rotate. Next guy's going to take 6. Just for that reason, where you start to get tired. When we're running our stations, if we know the guy's going to take 100 swings today, the worst thing in the world, and I would agree, is that when you start to get fatigued, your mechanics start to suffer, and now you just took 75 swings with crappy mechanics. And that's the worst thing in the world. Even when we do batting practice. If you ever watch Major League batting practice, these guys are in there, we go stopwatch as opposed to swings. So it might be 30 seconds. You can take quite a few swings in 30 seconds, but then as you run out, next guy runs in, 30 seconds. Next guy runs in, next guy runs out. Maybe we'll go down to 20. I don't want them in there taking too many cuts.
It's not realistic to the game.
It is. No,
so then you have a tee area. And on the tee area, you can do single tee, double tee. You can do all sorts of wiffle ball work with tee stuff. I showed some earlier. We're kind of running low on time. There's some sheets out there you can talk about. But tee, it's the same idea. If you can put that tee on the outside part of the plate, in the middle part of the plate, on the inside part of the plate, because I got a little kind of a thing that cements things. I don't know if you guys ever get those those guys who want to sell you the 10 lessons for $500 type of thing and all that, I kind of tell my players, this is home plate, but plus 2 inches on either side. These are the balls that you're going to get when you sign up for those big lessons, and they want you to look good, and they want you to come back because they like your business. You're going to hit these, you're going to make them look ugly, you're going to get these all the time. And I hope I'm not offending anybody, I apologize, but this is what I see. The outer part of the plate are these clean baseballs, and these are the ones that you're not going to see. Like I say, you'll go to somebody, you'll work on these pitches, but the pitchers in the Northwest Suburban are trained to throw here and here, here and here. They're not trained to throw here. And you can see that by my little graphic here in the U. I don't have a little tape part put in there to throw at the middle part. It's all throw at the low and on the corners. You got to learn to work with your tee work and your soft toss, these pitches, because this is what they're trained to throw at you. I mean, first pitch, low and away. Next pitch, bust them in. Next part, change them, low and away. I mean, it's like, when does a pitching coach ever say, just throw them a urine ball right down the middle? It just doesn't happen. So I always talk to my guys about,
when you're using the tee, and you're going to do inside, outside, or you want to opposite field and whatnot, make sure you adjust the tee. Typically on something that you're going to go opposite field, outside half of the plate, we're going to set the tee up further back. Something on the inside, where I'm going to have them pull the ball, we're going to move the tee up and out front. So as you get further outside, there you go. As you get further, so this would be something that I'm going to probably pull, okay?
probably foul.
Yeah, probably foul. So I guess I've seen a little graphic on a plate before where they actually have like an X or a diagonal line going across the plate and kind of giving you an idea where you should put the plate or set the ball up based on where you want the batter to go with it. So if my guys are doing tee work and I have a station that says this is an opposite field tee station, I do not want my guys doing this and trying to hit it the other way. It just doesn't happen. So we're going to set the tee out here, back, and out. Now we're going to work hands inside the ball going on this field. So just a little thing on where you're putting.
Yeah, you can adjust your tee drills based on what's happening in games and what your team needs. And then, of course, hit from home plate as often as you can. I think it's important to get the feel of hitting from home plate. The batter's box should become your friend. Hopefully all you're doing is just gripping and ripping instead of thinking about all the things. You think about stuff over here. Whoever's coaching or throwing the balls to people at home plate, just kind of let them swing. That's not the time as much to be doing the tutoring part. This is the area to be talking about hands and stride and all that. Let them swing at home plate. They're not going to be perfect. The batting averages of the best players are, they'll hit it 32% of the time. And they're not going to be perfect. But if they hit a couple solid baseballs, that's what you're looking for. And you want those, as many of them as you can. So that's the hitting piece. Get them working and moving around, shagging and all that. If you got some coaches or some parents who want to help out with that, or if you have a shagging group, you can organize that how you want. But there are some definite areas that they should be working towards to improve their swings, to improve their overall play.
Questions?
Do you have any favorite drills that you guys like to do to develop balance when they're loading?
Balance when they're loading. I do, you don't have a balance beam. I've taken a 2x4, created almost like a balance beam, and I've had them do soft toss off of that. And so it's just, it's this far off the ground. It's maybe, even like a 6-inch wide board, and have them go ahead and load on that and take the soft toss right from that balance beam. Are you saying, you got guys doing this, stepping out, or they're just?
Well, no, where some of the kids have problems that when the pitcher's mixing speeds, they're always getting out in front, out on that front foot, instead of being able to load, hold it, drive it.
In my opinion, that's not a balance problem, that's a mechanics problem.
Okay.
So it's just what I was talking about before. So we're here, what is probably happening is when they're striding, okay, now all of a sudden we have the weight shift already, and our hands are coming forward now. What you need to probably do, and I would do this with a big group early on in the season, is, okay, we're going to get into our stance, we're going to learn to load, toe touch, I'm 50-50, my hands are back. Okay, I'm actually walking away from my hands. So instead of having the kids start their swing here, this is probably where you're going to start having this issue. Okay, so what's happening is their hands are probably starting too early. As opposed to coming here, loading, we're 50-50, okay, knob of the bat at the catcher's feet. I'm at my toe touch, my heel hasn't come down yet. Okay, once I get here, now if it's that off-speed pitch, I can hold up. And now all I have left, now that I've realized it's an off-speed pitch, it's a change-up, I'm going to plant my heel, and I'm going to rotate on that ball.
And for me, you're talking about balance, that's about hand position for me and squaring up the baseball. You'd be surprised, you throw a guy a pitch out in front of the plate, something dirty, and just out front and change, they will naturally change their hand position, their body position to meet that baseball to the best of their ability. Now, in terms of being able to see pitches and see, to prepare these guys for games, how do you maybe, because you're 13s, and I'm assuming there's some curveball changeups and things like that coming up. What I would do with some of those guys is I'd start with a different kind of toss with those guys. Instead of a side toss over here, I might actually, if you have access to an L screen, especially the right-handed pitcher with the break coming across the plate, I might start with an offset L screen over here, and I might chuck to the outside corner. And it's kind of called the spoil reward drill. Spoil, meaning if it's outside and on that, spoil it, spoil it, spoil it, try to get a bat on it, foul it, or do something, and then reward them with just a pitch right down the middle. But work on getting out there on that pitch that's hard to, that's an umpire pitch, and get an offset L screen and throw it to the other corner. That might be just one day, in the middle of summer. What are we going to do today? Well, we're kind of stinking at hitting curveballs. Maybe that's something that you could work on. Change-ups, just put a little spin on it and do the same kind of thing. You can set it up the same way. Now, if we have L screens at all the fields, it works great. If we don't, maybe some creative building might have to take place for your safety. But balance is about hand position and scoring up the baseball for me. Anybody else? Hopefully we answered your question. A lot in an hour. There's a lot. Yes, sir?
Just quick, I'm seeing a lot more in the majors, and my kid played with more of the open stance and then stepping into it versus,
I talked about that a little with the last group, and stance, probably at this age on, is style. And that's why, a lot of people are like, well, the major league batters are all over the place, and how come we're teaching our kids this way? And what it gets to is the fundamental is, where are you at toe touch? That's one of the things that I try to teach when we do it with the younger kids as well, is I'll have them start their swing. As soon as they take that stride and that front toe, that big toe, hits the ground, I'm going to have them stop right there. And so when you get into, all this type of thing or whatever, as long as they get into that position at toe touch,
they end up coming back to the fundamentals you want them to do. So whatever's comfortable, the last thing you want them thinking about is, am I open, am I closed, how am I feeling, am I standing the way the coach wants me to stand when I'm in the batter's box?
So stance is not, I guess what I'm trying to say is, the stance is not an absolute. As long as you can get into that position, that essentially every Major League Baseball player will get to. So, whether they're here, whatever they're doing, when that toe hits down, they're right here. So, I don't know that I would always try to put them in the best position to be as successful as they can. But as they get older, if a kid's hitting 400 and he's, crushing the ball over the field and he's got a closed stance and open stance, as long as he's hitting those fundamental spots, I'm not messing with him.
Here's another thing to think about when a kid's struggling or something's happening that you're not sure how to diagnose. Take a look at where his bat is in his stance. Stance, it could mean a couple different things. Take a look at where the bat is sitting in the stance. If it's right here, this bat head has to go from here to here. But some kids will do this, and it gets behind. Now it has to go from here all the way around to here. And the kid's late, striking out, not having fun, hating life. How do you fix that? Spread them out, get low, hands up front, bat right here so they can see the barrel. Right here. Load, because they'll still feel power when they load, and bring it through quick. From here to here. Shorten the path. Okay? When we stand up taller, when we're up here, the guys feel like they have to generate all this power, and it's kind of a softball field. Okay? Baseball, if you're having a kid who's struggling, spread them out, get them down. First of all, it shrinks the strike zone, and the umpire has to make some decisions, and the kid might get on base more. But second, the path is shorter. From point A to point B, it's here. Boom. Okay? Anything else? I wanted to go over some of my gimmicks here real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're practicing in your coaching bag, if you make these types of things, some coaches like to put the square or the rectangle up here. Don't. We don't want kids throwing it right here. Make a U. Make them throw to the spots that you want your pitchers to throw to that they're going to have success. Second, tell your kids to throw the ball inside. If they hit a kid, bummer. There'll be another one coming up. Okay? Just make them throw the baseball inside. So many kids are scared to throw and hit a kid. Hey, they'll get out of the way and they have a helmet. Okay? So, second, always bring some bases with you if you have them. If you have crummy weather and rain and like this whole, I was up north this last weekend, Baudette, Lake of the Woods area was just misty, drizzly, crummy all weekend. If you feel like you need to shorten up practice or you're thinking of canceling, if you have these in your bag, you can have a sliding practice and it can be a blast. You can have kids practice, they're guys in the second base. You can practice hook slides. You can practice, you got to force out at second. You have to go straight into the bag. That type of thing that we just don't get a chance to practice very often. Take that crummy day and make your team better. Are you better now after practice than when we started? If you do some sliding work, you will be guaranteed. And then on those pass balls, have them practice sliding in the home plate. Because how many kids want to go in trotting and standing up? And it just makes you pull your hair out because the umpire tells you, hey, make sure they slide, or all that kind of thing. These things, you can make these things out of paddles. These things are kind of cool. They force you. They're just metal, or leather type of paddles, but you put your hand inside them, and it forces you to use the top hand. And this thing, the ball will rebound out of this pretty good. If you're an infielder, this forces you to use two hands and get the ball to your gut. This is a deflated volleyball. I like to use this on tees. This has a kid, if you have that kid who seems like they should have more power, but they just hit and there's nothing there, have them hit with this a little bit, and have them work on hitting it up the middle, and all of a sudden maybe you'll see some power increase out of that kid because they'll be working on the wrists, and the wrist driving through the baseball. Then we work on the top half, elbows are coming through, shoulders are coming through, sometimes the last thing are the hands and the wrists. Kids just might not have that strong hands or wrists, and this will help. If you got a kid who's learning to throw a curveball, have them bring 20-ounce pop bottles and have them sit down and work on chucking it and working on that release. Also, you can take sand, put these in them, and then the kids can kind of hang and loosen up the shoulder a little bit, kind of bring it back and help them stretch a little bit, and it's kind of a nice thing to do. Weighted baseballs, just a little gimmick, kind of nice to try once in a while. They're about an ounce or two heavier than your normal baseball, and it's just, a little arm strengthener kind of thing. These smush balls, they're really small, they're a little bit smaller than a regular baseball, but super soft, kind of nice to hit. If you're able to chuck darts at them for pregame and you don't have a lot of space, these little smush balls are nice. As your players get older, there's a lot of band work they can practice doing. If they can get one of these for $10, and you step on them and kind of shorten them, and you can work on some pregame work, getting yourself, just kind of isolate the shoulder a little bit, and get yourself out in the throwing motion. And there's a pitcher's 10, there's a thrower's 10 that I put out there with Scott here. There's 10 different off-season routine stretches or workouts you guys can do with just these bands, because you're talking about light little muscles. You're not talking about pump and iron. Those aren't the muscles you pitch with. It's the little, it's just the little muscles you're using at the end that allow you to get that snap on the baseball or that late movement. And you do some of this, it'll really help you. If you're doing soft toss work, this kind of helps. Having a mound that has a predetermined string, so if you're at a place where there's no bullpen area, kind of nice to have one of these in the bag. And then maybe start using a fungo. Helps you, it's a nice light little pregame bat that you can do infield, outfield with, and helps you hit pop-ups better, and helps you swing, because coaches get tired too. It's lighter. These little sticks are great too. Wiffle balls, tennis balls, not baseballs, not lightsabers, but it's kind of fun. And then there's something that I showed Scott. Something I showed Mark. I think maybe Scott too. There's a pregame thing you can do with your guys. If you don't have an area to hit baseballs, take 3 different colored wiffle balls. And one can be a curveball color, like a green. Another one could be red, meaning take. And then all the rest of the white ones can be just crush them. And if they see a green one, try to put a little snap on it. And if you throw in like a multicolor ball, that could be another, like maybe means a suicide or a bunt or something like that. Just working with the eyes and pitch recognition. There's a lot of little things you can do to vary up your workouts, your pregame, to engage your players, to get them excited to play that day. That maybe will give you some success. So, anything you want to add?
I think that's it. Questions at all?
Yeah, we'll be around if you have any. Otherwise, if you have any questions for the group, we'll take them. But next month, Dave Heath, November.
Itchy. I think it's the 17th, but we'll get the information out on the website. The information that was handed out tonight, we're also going to be posting on the